Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. My friend Michelle, how are you today? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Doing so good. Well, I can say the sun is out, but it's only 20 degrees, and I don't know how I feel about 12 inches of snow.
I know how I feel about 12 inches of snow. I don't like it at all. But I know that you're here, Michelle, because we've got a great guest, and I had the most wonderful time talking with him, and we're going to talk about all kinds of people who you may have never met. But by the way, Susan Kemp says, or is that?
Kemp.
Okay, and she said, "Hello, Kevin and James and Rochelle." And with that, I want to introduce our guest today. Well, I'll tell you what, Rochelle. Why don't you introduce our guest today?
Oh, I would love to. So today we have the one and only James Hibbard, who loves to dance and cannot stop. So welcome here, James. We are so excited to have you. Kevin has been so looking forward to the show and told me you have to be there. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, I'm happy to be here with you guys.
And sadly, we had a glitch on the video, which is fine because we have you on audio, which is much more important because you're going to be all over the world. Not that you haven't been all over the world, because you have been all over the world. You are 80 years young, and you are still dancing away.
I certainly am. Absolutely. A lot of my colleagues in LA and Hollywood and everywhere, they're not dancing at 80 or 81, which I am. It's so I've been blessed with legs that still work, and I have the spirit. So I'm teaching all the time, and I dance, and I'm going to go to Vancouver, BC, late May to perform in the International Tap Dance Day celebration that's coming out of Vancouver. And those kind of celebrations come from all over the world. People get together and honor Bojangles on National Tap Dance Day.
That is absolutely phenomenal. By the way, I have to tell everybody, if you have no earthly idea what tap dancing is, because it's almost a forgotten art these days. It's where they put taps on their shoes and then they dance and Sammy Davis Jr. was a wonderful tap dancer, and Gregory Hines, and there are lots of them, including James. And I think that's awesome that at the tender age of 80, you're still getting out there and tap dancing. That is awesome.
I've got to. My book, as we talked about, the title is "Can't Stop Dancing." So if I stop dancing, I'd be a liar.
Well, you can't stop dancing because you have been. And Rochelle, I had the most wonderful time talking with him because he was in movies. He's a choreographer. He's a director. He's an actor. He's now an author. Can't Stop Dancing is the book that's out, and it's kind of the story of his life and all the incredible people that he met that we're going to talk about a little bit, and we're going to see how many of them you can recognize.
Well, I will do my best, and I'm not here to study. I'm here to absorb information. So I'm glad I'll find out one way or another.
So James, I'm going to throw out a couple of names and see if you can relate and tell us a little bit about your relationship with these individuals. Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody you want.
Okay, I know just about anybody and everybody. Okay, there was a gal who was in the early 60s. She was in um a Broadway show and she was discovered. You know who this individual is. And she went on to do Funny Girl and then Funny Lady. As a matter of fact, Funny Girl was the Broadway show. And her name, Rochelle, can you guess it? Do you have any idea? Barbra Streisand, ring a bell?
Yes, actually, that does ring a bell.
Oh,
I can
good.
picture her face. Hey,
Excellent.
look at me
Great
go.
start. Here we go.
Excellent. Tell us, can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Barbra Streisand?
Absolutely. But I've got to tell you the sort of a setup. When I started dancing in Boise, Idaho, at the age of 8, my idol then, who inspired me to dance, was Gene Kelly. And Gene Kelly is a famous dancing movie star, actor, singer. And now at the age of 26, I come full circle and I'm hired to dance in the movie Hello, Dolly with Barbra Streisand. And it was a dream come true of mine. And it's working with Barbra. Barbra Streisand is a down to earth, very sincere, low key, wonderful person. And she was her work ethic is unquestioned. She works hard, and she was so busy during the time. And I worked on the film for 11 months on this on Hello, Dolly. We were of course, they called them the skeleton crew. I was one of the skeleton crew, and we learned all the dances in the movie. And not only that, but then I was assigned to learn whatever the character Barnaby had to do, and my job was to teach him what the choreography was when he joined the company for filming. And one of our dance friends on the film, his name was Howard Jeffries, was a close friend of Barbra Streisand. So he bridged the link between us and Barbra, and we got to know each other much better because Howard would ask her to come over and have a chat with us from time to time. And during all that time, you get to know the company. And I remember the first time when we were filming that she came out and to do Hello, Dolly, that number. We shot it on 20th Century Fox studio lot, and the number is called the title song Hello, Dolly, and there's a waiter's gallop. And she came in that beautiful dress. She comes down the stairs, and I'd never seen skin so beautiful on a human being before. It was just milky white, gorgeous. And of course, I told her that, and and we've been friends ever since. But she's a brilliant artist and a very kind, lovely woman.
If you have not had the opportunity to listen to Barbra Streisand sing in her heyday, go look it up, Google it, and listen to her voice. I mean, her voice was, I still think, yes, Whitney Houston was great, and there's some great singers today, but I think Barbra Streisand stands alone.
Well, yeah, so do I. But there's only a handful of singers that can reach the people that they do because of their extraordinary talents, like Celine Dion and others. But for my money, it's Barbra Streisand, and she can do anything she wants to do. She's brilliantly talented.
I have to tell you, there was a special that she did because there was a number of years when she stopped singing. She stopped performing in public. And when she came back to perform in public, Robin Williams, rest his soul, opened up for her. and they spent, and he did a little monologue, and one of the things he said was, this is scary because there are so many directors in the audience. Everybody who was anybody was in the audience for that performance because she hadn't done it in years. Do you remember that, James?
I don't, but she's done so many wonderful things. By the way, my wife and I had the opportunity to go to London one time, and we got to see her concert in Hyde Park. And this is only about 5 years ago, and it was extraordinary to see her perform in the park, and that was a thrill and a half as well. So
exactly,
we
and
didn't get to see her, but it was fabulous.
And by the way, if you don't know who Gene Kelly is, he directed the movie Hello Dolly, but he also was in Singing in the Rain, and he does the dance number of that is Gene Kelly, an extraordinarily gifted man, and stuff. And then and James, you know, when we were talking about all kinds of different folks that you worked with and stuff. As a matter of fact, you know, like Debbie Reynolds, who was in How I Won the West, with a gentleman that you might recognize. You know, Jimmy Stewart was in that movie too.
I thought Jimmy Stewart wasn't with us anymore. Are you sure you're not? Who am I talking to?
I'm doing my inner Jimmy Stewart, and he was. I loved all the things that he did, and he goes all the way back. And he was in What a Wonderful Life, and in Western. He was the consummate movie star.
Yeah, yeah. And there's never a crazy, weird story about him ever, you know.
No.
Married. Yeah, it was. It was all good. It was all good. But I've actually done It's a Wonderful Life on stage. I did it 2 times in Vancouver, and it's a fabulous musical play, as well as the movie. So it was a thrill.
Who played Clarence? It doesn't matter.
In the movie, in the movie, it was Thomas Mitchell.
Yes.
No, Clarence was no. In the movie, Clarence. Thomas Mitchell played the uncle who loses the money from the bank. That was the role I played. But the Clarence, I don't remember his name. I can see his face, but he's. I think he's played Santa a couple times as well. You know.
Oh, and Jim, you played Uncle Billy on stage.
Yes, I did.
And he was the one in the movie that was kind of a fuddly old guy, and he had the money and he lost the money, and the bad guy took the money, and that was such a great show.
Yeah.
And you've done. Have you ever kept? Now I know it's in the book, Can't Stop Dancing, but have you ever looked at the numbers of shows that you were in and stuff? Have you ever counted them up?
Okay, in a short term, I've done 29 movies, most of them major movies. I've done over 200 TV shows. I've done scores of musical plays on stage. I've worked in Las Vegas and Reno and Lake Tahoe, and that was before coming to Vancouver and starting my career in Canada as well. And it's been a tremendous career. Everything in my life has fallen into place. I guess because of I could dance, of course, and I was good enough to do those things, but my attitude was right. And directors and producers and choreographers, they want people who are never going to cause waves or problems, and they would like to have those people in their company as opposed to people that are kind of jaded, So attitude is a big thing in this business, because if you have a bad attitude, that gets around the business in a hurry, and people won't hire you. So, and I've been fortunate enough to go from dancing to featured dancer to assistant choreographer to director to producing to writing shows, and it's just been a natural sort of evolution. And I tell all my students that learn as many things as you possibly can learn, different styles, different ways of doing things, because it means that the more you know, the less you'll be out of work. And I've even worked one time professionally as a mime, because I learned a little bit about mime. I mean, it just goes crazy like that. And and then you have a job when you wouldn't if you didn't know something about those things. So you keep your nose clean, you work harder than you ever thought you'd work. And then all of a sudden, it's never works again. It's just nothing but a pleasure to do.
Well, and you and I both know that your career is really unusual in the fact of how many great movies you've done. You've been on stage, you're a dancer, you've done all of these things. There aren't a lot of people who can claim. And so I got to ask you, when you're teaching dance in Canada, and you've got younger people, do they even ask you about some of the stars that they might not even know that who they are, but in the day they were really something?
Well, most of the young dancers, when I'm teaching them, and I mentioned Donald O'Connor or Debbie Reynolds or even Tom Jones, some of them are so young they don't even remember Tom Jones, and they have a blank look on their face. So then I just tell them, okay, you know how to use Google, so go on Google and do some research, because all of these people, all these great dancers too, like Gene Nelson was my teacher. I danced with Sammy Davis Jr. I danced with Donald Connor's Las Vegas act. I danced a lot with Ann Margaret. By those people, all those people made it possible for me to do what I do, and for any dancers to do what they do. It has to be. It was all done before you. So you have to be humble, and there were people that came before you who made it possible for you to progress in your as a dancer.
And James, and by the way, Brichelle, do you know who Tom Jones was or is?
I think so.
Well, he had a song. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
By anyone. Yeah, I know that song.
And but you know who he met, and I fell out of my chair when he did this. You know what movies that he was in with? You may have heard of this guy. His name was James. Help me here. Elvis. I think that was what was his name? Elvis Presley. Was that? Is that right?
Yeah. He's a lesser known, star from Tennessee, but he's now, Rochelle, you must know Elvis Presley.
Oh, 100%. That's burned into my mind.
Well, I got to work with him in 6 of his films.
That is wondrous.
And I sang and danced in all of the 6 films, and I was lucky enough that one day on the set, and this was about the 3rd movie in, on set, he overheard me talking about growing up in Idaho and hunting and fishing, and he asked me to come to his trailer on the next break because he wanted to have a conversation with me, and so I did, and that started a succession of going to his trailer or having conversations with him throughout the next 3 movies that I worked with him on, and we'd sit in front of his trailer. He didn't want to talk about show business. He didn't want to talk about anything like that. He wanted to talk about hunting and fishing when times were simpler for him. And he told me, I'll tell you a little story because
What
all of his
James?
entourage.
James, and you know,
Huh?
because you were in television a lot, and I've already blown the one break, and I gotta take a break real quick, and it's just a minute,
Okay.
but hold that thought, hold that story, because we're gonna be right back with James.
Thank you.
At
Thank you.
67 years young, I never thought I'd feel this good again. But thanks to Purium's Ultimate Transformation Lifestyle, to date, I've lost 37 pounds and gained energy, confidence, and a whole new outlook on life. This isn't a diet. Purium is a complete lifestyle change, giving me all the natural, organic, nutrition-packed superfoods that fuel my body, crush my cravings, and help me burn fat naturally without starving myself. No gimmicks, no guesswork, just a simple, proven system that works. Superfood shakes, detox support, and real results. If I can do this at 67, imagine what you can do. It's your time to feel better, look better, and live better with Purium. Let's do it now, and let's do it together. Go to www.positivetalkradio.net and click on the Transform You to get started. That's positivetalkradio.net. Transform You. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle. Who's our guest today? Who the fine young gentleman that we have talking to today?
We have the one and only original 80-year young James Hibbard. And I mean, this is just so exciting. I think about the fact that I still have 60 years of life until I get to that point, and everything that I am going to achieve and experience, and the people I'm going to meet. It is honestly so inspiring. And I myself am a dancer, and if I can be dancing, I'd rather do that than anything else. So I absolutely love having you here, James, and please do tell us your story.
Well, before the break, I'm just going to say that one of the movies I worked on 6 movies with Elvis Presley, and on one of the movies, he asked me to come to the trailer and to just have a conversation. And we'd go and sit, and he wanted to talk about when times were simpler for him, and hunting and fishing. And the first time he got his first car after his first hit record, he told me the story. He said that, regarding all his entourage, his cousins and the other people that travel with him and help him, he had his first hit record. He bought a Cadillac, and he was driving downtown, he said, and I stopped at the light, and 3 guys ran over from the sidewalk and asked if he was Elvis Presley. And he said, "Oh, well, yes, I am." And one of them punched him right in the face, and all three of them ran off. And from that moment on, he and his entourage started studying karate. And Elvis became a 3rd-degree black belt in karate. And even on the set, one of his entourage was Red West, who was also an actor in his films. It was about the same level, and they would put on demonstrations for us on the set of the breaks. They would Red West would sneak up and attack Elvis, and Elvis would beat him into submission. And he was lightning fast and so quick, and it was a real treat. And after the last movie we did, which is Easy Come, Easy Go, Elvis and his road manager, Joe Esposito, invited me to come to see his comeback special, which was on NBC. It was a big deal. And so I got to go there and sit very close and listen to all the music. And then afterwards, Elvis and Joe Esposito came to me, and Elvis said, "I'm not doing any more films." He said, but he's told me he was going to miss having our conversations and wish me well, and that was it. So for a short time, Elvis and I were friends, and it was. And I got to tell you, when we finished our conversation, we weren't finished, and the assistant director would come and say, "Mr. Presley, we're ready for the next shot," and he would always turn to me and say, "Jimmy, have we finished our conversation?" you want to talk about anything else? And I was just so sort of dumbfounded. And I said, well, yeah, I think we should go back to the set. And you said, okay, let's go. And we get up, and by the time he got to the set, his persona of Elvis came back, and he was, and it was just a thrill and a half. He was the most polite, respectful, mega star that I've ever worked with, and he was always kind and thoughtful.
Now,
it was a treat.
Did you do the movie with him at the Seattle World's Fair?
No, not that one.
Oh, dang. Because that was, the Space Needle is right behind Rochelle and I, because we have a view of Seattle there and stuff. So, but he isn't alone with, Donald O'Connor, who was a megastar, and Gene Kelly. Did you ever work with Fred Astaire?
Yes, in one film, I was in the movie Finian's Rainbow. Finian's Rainbow. I didn't dance with Fred, but I danced in the film, and the director of that film was Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh my gosh.
Who directed the Godfather stuff, right?
Oh yes.
And so anyway, it was at the end of shooting that movie, which was great fun. Is Francis invited me to come to his house in the Beverly Hills, the one he was renting, and teach his wife and him and two producers and their wives, and teach them dances of the 60s, the jerk and the boogaloo and the swim and all those things. And in turn, they invited me to go and see a studio premiere of The Wild Bunch, that film. And you probably know that film, but it was a big time Western film.
With Ernest Borgnine and there were a bunch of other
Robert Ryan and
yes,
big stars, and it was and I'm a total Western fan anyway, so it was a great thrill, But that film was fun. My role was of a fireman, and the sequence is called "Burning at the Barn," and we're all dancing, and it's putting the fire out was set to dancing, and it was in full fireman gear with boots, and everything weighed about 40 pounds, and we're up high on this roof of a barn and doing attitude turns and chopping the axe into and it was very cool.
Is there anybody who you didn't meet that you wanted to meet? It seems to me like you've met just about everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been fortunate to work with all my idols, including Lucille Ball and Dean Martin,
God.
And of course Frank Sinatra. I worked with Frank Sinatra. I worked with Julie Andrews and Mary Tyler Moore and Natalie Wood and Rosalind Russell in the movie Gypsy. No, I've been really blessed with a great career, and one thing about me is that all those years I just kept working. I just went from job to job to job to job, and I loved meeting. I was starstruck. I've been starstruck all my life. I'm still am. And so now, if I see a star, even on the street or in a restaurant, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to introduce myself to them and tell them I'm a big fan. And I try to do it always, without being brazen, but no, I don't want the moment to pass. And that's sort of been the story of my life. That I didn't want to miss anything.
Well, and I got to ask you, since you met Dean Martin, did you meet Sammy Davis too?
Yeah, I have a great story about Sammy.
Oh Lord!
Sammy Davis Jr. had, I think, the fastest feet I've ever heard, ever seen. But in Las Vegas, all the late night shows, the shows are on late, didn't have a place to go to unwind, the casts of those shows. After their latest show, which could be like 3 a.m, there was no place to go. So when Sammy was in town doing his act, he threw a party at his hotel every night for the shows to come. And at that point, I was doing Anne Margaret's act, and at the Riviera Hotel, and I was invited to the party afterwards. And I went into the lobby area of this hotel, and they had a pool table set up, and there's a whole scat of people playing pool. And I had played a lot of snooker in LA when I was younger, and you put your quarter on the table, and I put my quarter on the table, and my turn came up. My opponent turned out to be Telly Savalas, who was a star. So I played him, and I was shooting really well, and had no trouble on the pool table. And all of a sudden, I hear a voice behind me, and the voice said, "You didn't go to school very much, did you?" And what he meant, I turned around and it was Sammy. And what he meant was I would spend more time in the pool hall than in school. And so a lot of hoofers, when they meet or talk with each other, they start noodling, tapping, as they're talking to. So I would say somebody at Sammy says, "So fabulous to meet you." While I'm saying that, I start noodling, tap dancing. And then he would answer the same way. So they're in the lobby. Sammy and I are having a conversation and tap dancing with each other. It was a thrill and a half.
Oh, that is simply amazing. And by the way, we're talking with James Hibbard, and go to his Facebook page and just look up James Hibbard. He's all over the place. But get his book, which is called "Can't Stop Dancing," and he has been, Rochelle, and I'm getting the impression there's a lot of people that he met that you even know about, like good old Blue Eyes, Frank.
Yes, of course. And when we come back from the break, I have a thrilling question that I'd love to know. Just so you know.
Good. We'll be right back, and Rochelle's going to ask that thrilling question. So stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
And welcome back, everybody. Well, I'm going to blow that commercial because I want to talk to James more. But we had to do the station break. But so go ahead, Rochelle.
Yes. So as a child, a little bit of a background story. My grandma Georgie, who passed in the near recent, was the woman of my life. And when it came to dancing and music and all the above, that's all these names I'm hearing from is how I even probably know that is mainly from her. And the one movie we watched that brought my soul so much happiness and joy since I was a kid that nobody even knows exists anymore is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Were you ever involved in that?
Oh,
And please tell me you both know.
No, my friends, a couple of my friends in LA were in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. They were in Oliver. They were in Mary Poppins. Those kind of films.
Please,
and one of my
sir.
closest friends was a dancer. Yeah.
Please, sir, may I have some more? More? You want more? That's from Oliver.
That was great. That is true. Very true. I would have loved to have been in those films, but they were. Oliver was cast, of course, in England, and I was doing other movies at the same time when like my friend Pete Menefee, who's a dancer, worked in Mary Poppins, and I was just working on other things like. I got to tell you a story about when I was shooting, working on Hello Dolly. I got a call from Universal Studios to go and audition for Bob Fosse, who was directing Sweet Charity. And even though I was working in Hello Dolly, I made my way to go and audition for Bob Fosse, because you never know, down the road they may remember you. You know, if you do good in that job at the audition. So that was, and the whole story around Bob Fosse. You have to read my book. It's pretty crazy. But I call it the chapter, My Amazing Audition for Bob Fosse. And so anyway, I won't tell you the story about it right now because it's a real crazy story.
You need to buy the book, and it's also available on Amazon, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hardback and paperback.
And
I'm very proud of the book. It's just and it's just simply a story of what I did and what it took for me to get where I am now. And it's you can't do it alone. You need many, 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 many friends that help you along the way. And I've had that for sure.
well, and you know, I saw, and James, I just saw the other day, of course, Dick Van Dyke is 99, and I saw him dancing at 99. That's your future, young man. You're going to still be teaching at 99.
He just keeps going on and on and on. I've never danced with him, unfortunately, but every year in LA at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, we have I belong to the Professional Dancers Association in LA, and they have a show every year where they honor three gypsies. We're called gypsies' body of work, and the hosts of that show were always Dick Van Dyke and Mitzi Gaynor. So I got to meet Dick Van Dyke, and of course Mitzi Gaynor. I'd met her many times. And he's exactly what he looks like. He's so sweet, and he's full of energy, and he's respectful, and he's a giant in the business, of course. And probably one of the things I saw on Facebook when dancing was with a lady named Rusty Frank, who was instrumental in helping me find the publisher of my book. So you get help from crazy directions sometimes.
Well, didn't the inspiration to write the book start from you wanted to be able to tell your grandchildren and their grandchildren your story?
Absolutely. I was my colleagues in LA were hounding me to tell my story and get it to public, and I didn't do it. So finally, I gave in, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to write it for my grandkids and would have something to read about and what I did, and they could tell other people." But as I started writing it, and it took me five years to get it from starting to now. I realized that what I want to do with this book is to inspire younger people or anybody to follow their dreams and to never ever give up and always be positive. Don't go into negative, passive areas because you just don't want to go there. Positive energy brings you to better places, and it will attract people of a like mind. And I'm living proof that can happen, no matter what you do. If you're in truck driving, whatever it is, you never give up, and you do, and you just keep positive and going ahead. The only direction is forward. So there you go.
And that is a beautiful philosophy. Now, Michelle's got to go, but before she goes, she has a question.
Yes, I am so sad to be leaving, but I sit here and I think about all of these experiences you've had in all this life, and you figured out all through it to stay positive and not have the negative, and no matter what you go through in your upbringing. And I thought about, okay, well, upbringing, and then I thought, well, I wonder where his passion came from. And of course, when you dance, you kind of are born. It's in your soul, and your soul's moving, so your body has to move, is how I kind of think about it. But my question for you, James, is there a moment when you were young, like one of the first moments that when you were dancing and you realized like how much you loved to dance?
Absolutely. It was the very first moment I had my first dance lesson. When I walked
Wow.
into the studio, and I was 8 years old, I knew at that moment that whatever Gene Kelly was doing up on the screen, I wanted to be there. I wanted to do the same thing. And he was my very first idol and remained
Mhm.
that way. And but I just, and also I guess in my whole life, I started doing a lot of work. Started working professionally when I was 14 years old, and that was on a TV show called Jack Benny's Shower Stars, and I sang and danced with the Linden sisters, and that was my first job. But since then, done I've done an awful lot of work, but people have asked me, what was your favorite job? And I thought about it and going, geez, I don't know. Then I realized every single job I've done, I love as much as the last one.
Mm.
I just love being there. I feel comfortable on stage. I want to get out, and I want to see the pleasure in people's eyes when I'm out there, and taking a chance to forget their troubles for a few minutes. It just means everything to me.
And
So I've wanted to dance since I was 8 years old, and it hasn't changed. I still want to dance. I can't wait to get back on the stage in May in Vancouver.
and by the way, James is still teaching. And we before we started the show, we were talking about a particular song, and Rochelle was talking about it. Do you teach people how to dance to Shake Your Booty?
Shake your booty.
Of course.
James,
Well,
this last weekend I was with a
no,
bunch of kids
no,
and I felt insane because they didn't know the song. They had never heard it in their whole life, and I blasted it as loud as I could. We sang and we danced around, and I hope they keep that going in their house. That song is so happy.
well, yeah. There isn't any more fun than shaking your booty.
Oh no! I'd throw my back out if I did that. You know, so.
Oh no. Yeah, and you can dance, and you can dance in a lot of ways. You know, you can sit down and dance.
Good.
If you want to.
I can do that. And Rochelle, we need to go take our final break today. And I want to give you the opportunity, though, to tell James how much this has meant to you, and what a cool man he is. And I just had to say this, that every time he opens his mouth, out comes another name that I'm like, you knew Jack Benny? That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that James is so talented in so many ways, but it's the mindset really that sticks with hearing your stories because you did anything that you could and nothing stopped you, all because of what you allowed yourself to believe and what you told yourself day in and day out. And if you would have once stopped and gone down a rabbit hole, you wouldn't have experienced what you did. So it's just a reminder for me and everybody out there, like, don't take each day for granted because the things that could happen that are right in front of your face and ready for you can be the most miraculous things to change your life. And if I have one piece of advice before I leave, it's don't let yourself stop dancing or start
I'll never
dancing.
stop dancing.
He can't stop dancing. As a matter of fact, he wrote a book called "He Can't Stop" or "Can't Stop Dancing." So that's Rochelle. Thank you so much, and
Of course.
and
Thank you,
Thank you,
James.
Rochelle.
she's got to go do something that we all refer to as life now. But thank you for being here, my dear. And we need to take a break, James, and we'll be right back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And Rochelle's left us, but James E. Hibbard is our guest, and he's written the book Can't Stop Dancing, and it has got to be a must read. If you remember Lucille Ball and Elvis Presley and Tom Jones and Sammy Davis and I'm willing to bet that there are people you haven't mentioned like Joey Bishop and Johnny Carson and just so many people that you may have met or brushed elbows with in your career. It is just remarkable. You know that?
It's been wonderful. I have mentioned Johnny Carson. A friend of mine in L.A., a girl, her name is Tony Basil. Tony Basil had the hit song "Hey Mickey."
Oh yes.
Hey Mickey, you're so fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's a great friend of mine. I've danced with her many times, and she helped further my career. She and another friend of mine, Walter Fader, and I formed a trio of dancers, and we performed with her on Johnny Carson's show, and we also on Merv Griffin's show, and a couple of others as well. It was great fun.
And and there's another one. See, every time you open your mouth, there's somebody else that I have to ask a question about. See, Merv Griffin was a talk show host first, and then he went into the game show production business.
Yeah,
and he produced a bunch of really top-notch game shows.
Yeah, he was the game show king, the king.
Yeah, and all these people, by the way, I have to ask you because we haven't mentioned him yet, but I know you love Westerns. Did you ever have a brush with the Duke? That's John Wayne, for those who don't know.
No, unfortunately, I didn't. But I had a brush. I met Clint Eastwood.
Oh God.
When I was doing a show in Los Angeles at the Aquarius Theater called Tommy, Rock Opera Tommy. It was the world premiere of Tommy before the movie, and Ted Neely was the star. And at that time, Clint Eastwood was dating one of the girl dancers in the show. So I got to meet him behind the theater many times. Actually, he would pick her up after the show, and off they would go. And he was a nice man. I really enjoyed talking with him.
Did he ever say to you, "Go ahead, make my day"?
No. That was after that. That was that time when I met him. He was just about to become a huge star with
Rawhide
Western series. Yeah, Rawhide.
Oh, rolling.
That's right.
There are so many great memories that I have growing up of when I was a kid in the 60s and stuff, of all these guys that did such stuff. And of course the movies that they were in, like Hello Dolly, and I saw Funny Girl in the theater, and Mary Poppins and Oliver and all of that stuff. And it was a magical time back then. I think that we've lost something between then and now. Maybe that's just me, but what do you think?
Yeah, no, it sort of goes in waves, Like, for instance, when I did the movie Hello Dolly, that was just before the end of these big blockbuster movie musicals, and there wasn't anything for a long time until Moulin Rouge or Chicago brought back the big movies like that. it just goes in waves. Same thing with tap dancing. Tap dancing gets really foremost in people's minds, and it seems like it goes away, but it never goes away. It just goes on kind of underground, because tap dancing is alive and well. I tell you, it's busy everywhere, every school, and it's alive and well for sure. But it was like the peak of those movies, because I did all those. I mean, I've only done about 8 movies here, 8, 9, or 10, and up to then I did all the rest of those movies in LA, one after the other, and not only that, but TV and then stage work, and there was a lot of work. There was a lot of work for dancers, and it was a great time for everybody, and there were a lot of dancers who were put to work.
Now, when you were young, there was, before there was, and I'm gonna date myself here a little bit, because nobody else will date me. But when
I'm beginning to tear up, Kevin.
And but before there was TV, really, there was something called vaudeville, and vaudeville was on stage, and they had a lot of it became like the Carol Burnett show, where they had skits and they had different folks. Did you ever participate in vaudeville?
No, I was too young. But vaudeville is where all these guys learned their chops.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of these stars, they performed in vaudeville, and learned their craft, and that was another example of they had to learn many different things so they could work, right?
Exactly.
Because if you only did one thing, you may do some vaudeville, but then you're not brought back, right? But if you do different things, you sing, you dance, you act, you do comedy, you do a big thing like all the pratfalls and then the crazy comedy. And there was a dance form called Gandhi dancing, where these dancers looked like they had rubber legs, and they had it's just crazy to watch it, and it's extremely difficult, but it would work. And even dancers like, I should say actors like Buddy Ebsen, who was Beverly Hillbillies, he was a really good tap dancer, and he was a Gandhi dancer.
Yes, he had rubber legs, I think.
Yes, and also Ray Bolger
from The Wizard of Oz.
Ray Bolger was a Gandhi dancer, and he was a great film star. When I was 16 in LA, I had the opportunity to perform with Ray Bolger at my ballet master's school, and we performed in a recital, and we did the number Me and My Shadow, and of course I was the shadow, right? But I got to dance with the famous Ray Bolger at my dance school in LA.
It is remarkable, the number, and that's why your book is so important. And by the way, thank you for writing it, because a lot of this history, if you didn't write it in 30 or 40 years when you're done, you wouldn't. It would just go away. And this is an important piece of history that needs to be saved and needs to be savored and really looked at, because even people like, I think I told you that I was asking my sons that were, when they were in their 20s, do you have any idea who Bob Hope is, or Bing Crosby, or any of those? And they were like, who? I have no earthly idea. But you knew of all of these guys and were around them.
Yeah. I once had the opportunity to meet Bob Hope. He was preparing one of his USO tours, and a group of 3 girls who had their act as a Las Vegas act. They were called the Kim Sisters. They played maybe 6 or 7 different instruments. They danced really well and sang really well. They had a great act, and Bob Hope invited them to go on the USO tour. So they hired me to choreograph the work that they were going to do on the tour. So I got to go to the rehearsal and meet Bob Hope. He was the gentleman, and that was a thrill and a half. I didn't get to work necessarily with him, but I got to prepare that number for the show.
Well, it just strikes me because you have met so many really talented, famous people that that you have got a really unique life story. And is there a second book coming that you're going to focus in on anything, or maybe the second 100 years? Remember that show, the second? That was a team.
Absolutely not.
Oh, that one didn't last very long. But and there wasn't any dancing and stuff in it. But I just got to tell you, James, and I want to make sure that we get the word out about this again. James E. Hibbard, or we could call him Jimmy Hibbard Chew. And he's an amazing man, and he's 80 years young. He's still teaching dance in Canada, in North Vancouver, and get the book, Can't Stop Dancing. It's on Amazon. And do this for me, if you would, ladies and gentlemen, and that is, because I tell everybody this all the time, and that is, if you have the opportunity to go to a mom and pop, your local favorite bookstore, in the mom and pop, order it through them, because they can make a little bit of money, and then that'll put his book, and tell them to get a couple extra copies, and that'll put his book on their shelf. And by the way, are you familiar with the movie Forrest Gump?
Yes, I watched it, I think 3 times.
I want someone, and Susan brought this up, and I think it's a great idea. I want somebody to make a movie of your life, and then to show reels of all of these people that you had the opportunity to work with and meet and to do and to dance with and stuff. I think that would be a fascinating movie to watch, don't you?
Well, funny you should mention, because
I should have known.
There are people in Vancouver. We're just preparing to do a documentary on my life, but we're going to shoot it the way I want to, or the way that Gene Kelly would want to, or Gene Nelson. It's going to be a mini musical, and I'm going to have show clips of all the people I've worked with and stories. I'm going to have interesting guests on my show, dancers that I respect and have other stories to tell as well. And we're also going to create a dance from start to finish, like with the audition and the work on it, and then the costuming and the lighting and the finishing, and shooting it properly with 4 cameras. And that's a project we're planning as soon as we get all the money in place.
Would you do me a favor, James? And would you do me a favor, and will you please come back so that I can help you promote that when it comes out?
Oh, of course I will. Of course.
I hope you've had a good time,
question.
Because I tell you, I've had the best time talking with you.
This is a great time. Yes, you're a consummate host, and it's great fun to talk with you.
Well, you're just absolutely phenomenal. And we've been talking with James E. Hibbard, and go to Amazon, get his book, Can't Stop Dancing, and be looking for the documentary. I think that will be absolutely fabulous when you get that done. I really am thankful for you being on the show. And and you're going to have to come back, because I got a feeling if I talk to you for another half hour, there'd be another 20 names that would just show up of people that you may have even forgot that you met and stuff. But it's remarkable. So James, thank you so much. And we got to go, but please come back. My audience absolutely loves you for doing this, and the man that you are. And by the way, Can't stop dancing. Keep doing what you're doing, my friend.
It makes me breathe. When I dance, I can breathe and I can fly. So I'm not going to stop. And thank Rochelle for me as well, Kevin.
I will.
I really appreciate being on your show. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much. It's been my consummate honor, and because you've talked about so many people that I met in my dreams and on TV or in movies, and you're the real deal, man. Thank you so much. And we got to go, but
I appreciate it.
James E. Hibbard, get the book. Can't Stop Dancing. You can pick it up at Amazon. So thank you so much. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.